Hello everyone, welcome to part 2 of our volunteer recruitment and retention training series. I'm Jenny Huang. Thank you all so much for joining us today. So before we get started, I want to go through a few housekeeping notes. We are recording this training and we'll post it online within a week. You'll receive an email from us when that is available. If you have any questions, please type them into the chat box that you see on the right-hand side of your screen. If they're technical questions, I will respond to them as I go. Otherwise, we'll answer all the questions at the end of the training. If you need any additional assistance, please raise your hand. So for those of you who may not know, the Get It Back campaign is a national effort to promote the Earned Income Tax Credit and Child Tax Credit. We work with many community organizations, advocacy groups, and other orgs to connect workers with tax credits and free tax filing. You can visit our website, eitcoutreach.org, for more information and resources. So recently, we added a new section on our website for VITA sites. Here you can find best practices for recruitment and retention, flyers, and messaging tips. After this training is over, we'll also be adding a recording that you'll be able to access here. So today's webinar focuses on what really works in volunteer recruitment. You'll be hearing from 3 of our VITA partners. They'll share what recruitment strategies have worked for them, where they recruit volunteers, and how they manage volunteer relations. Last week, we had a training with Patrice Teeter-Moran, which focused on the theory behind volunteer recruitment. And if you missed that training, you can watch that online. So our first presenter, Lauren Schwanz, is the VITA Regional Coordinator for the Uintah Basin, which proudly serves Daggett, Duchesne, and Uintah counties in northeastern Utah. Lauren is the first regional coordinator to manage the VITA program in the area, which was established in November of 2014. Next, we'll have Sharon Baldwin, who is the volunteer coordinator for the Baltimore CASH, Creating Assets, Savings, and Hope campaign. Prior to joining Baltimore CASH's staff in 2014, Sharon served for 2 years with CASH as an AmeriCorps member through Volunteer Maryland, where she received significant training in volunteer management. That was with Patrice Teeter-Moran. She is a member of the Maryland Council of Volunteer Directors and founding member of the Taxpayer Opportunity Network's Volunteer Management Working Group. Finally, we'll have Keely Andrews, a program associate with Enterprise Community Partners. She's been working with the Cuyahoga EITC Coalition since 2011. She oversees the administrative and operational functions for 30 coalition-led VITA sites. In addition, she plays a pivotal role in raising awareness for the coalition services, as well as performing community outreach and volunteer recruitment year-round. Working to ensure that coalition volunteers are well prepared, she plays a critical role in training both site coordinators and volunteers alike. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lauren, who will discuss volunteer recruitment.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for attending. I'd first like to thank the Get It Back campaign for inviting me to be part of this fantastic webinar and for the opportunity to talk about one of my very favorite topics, which is volunteers. So I could talk about volunteers all day long, but for the sake of time, I'm going to try to keep it brief. I would encourage you to contact me with any further questions, concerns, emotional outbursts, whatever it might be, and you can find my contact information at the end of my presentation. So I am Lauren Schwanz, and I'm a VITA Regional Coordinator for the state of Utah, and I have been a volunteer for most of my life. I've volunteered with a number of different organizations and different programs, and so I feel that my volunteer experience has really helped me in this role where I'm coordinating volunteers. And I also have to disclose that I am not a numbers person by nature. I have a degree in psychology with a minor in sociology. So it's pretty much the end of the spectrum from tax law. And so I decided that I would try this opportunity, this position, and I have found out that I've absolutely loved it, and I just cannot say enough about VITA. So I also like to share a little story for any regional coordinators out there who are just starting out. Maybe this will be your first tax season, or perhaps you know, there's somebody out there who maybe is a little intimidated by it. And I also like to share this story with my volunteers too when I first get to know them. My first year that I was a part of VITA, I completely and miserably failed my basic test. And it was quite a hit to my ego, and I really questioned whether I could even be part of tax law or if I could understand taxes. And at that point I decided that instead of renting the information, so to speak, I would own it. And so I kept on trying, and the next year I passed every test with 100% accuracy on the first try. So that's something I like to share with my volunteers, to kind of let them know I'm a real person too. I make mistakes and I have failed, and it's okay to fail. Just keep trying. The last piece of information that I just want to disclose with you real quick too is that this VITA program has only existed for the last 2 years. We're about to start our third year, or our third tax season. And I am the first regional coordinator to be part of this VITA program, and so it was a bit of an interesting dilemma when I first walked into this position, because although we had a little bit of VITA representation in the area, which was mainly volunteer driven, we did not have an established VITA program. And so since then, we've been able to build it up. We've helped almost 600 taxpayers over the last 2 years, and I'm feeling really proud of where it's going. So without further ado then, one of the first things that I asked myself when I started this position was, okay, where do I start? Because there really wasn't any establishment of the program. I like to use the metaphor that the spot had been picked out, but the foundation hadn't been laid yet. So I started asking myself some questions, which has now become the way that I start off every volunteer recruitment season. So I've asked myself, okay, who am I trying to recruit? Where do I find them? How do I sell this opportunity to them? How do I make the deal just sealed with their commitment because I've really sold the program? And how can I make this experience even more enjoyable, positive, worthwhile, etc. for them? So an example of how I've started looking at this is I use a group. Okay, so for example, I want to try to recruit students that are majoring in accounting. Where can I find those students? Mostly at colleges. There's some examples of locally where I would find those volunteers. How to sell this opportunity? I like to really tell, especially the students, how great of a resume builder this experience is, how it helps them really stand out when they have this on their resume, and how it really helps them to apply the skills that they've learned in the classroom into a real-life experience that's a little more low risk than just going out into the workforce. And then how to make them really commit to the program. I also tell them about how I'm always willing to do letters of recommendation. I'm a reference on many of their resumes, and also the certificates that they receive from becoming certified in tax law is also a great selling point. And how to make the experience even better? Well, that's a retention piece, and we'll come to it shortly. So before approaching partners, there's just a few things that I kind of like to take a look at when it comes to, okay, I know where I need to find my volunteers. Now let's see if there's a partner who can help. So I'd like to find my in, which can be a person that helps you with connecting to those volunteers, connecting to perhaps the colleges, connecting you to wherever you can potentially find volunteers. Then once I find that in person and really sell them on the program, it's a lot easier to get that assistance and that help with recruiting the volunteers. Then I also recommend having a spiel together, or as I like to call it. Knowing what you're going to say to a partner or to an organization on just what it is that you're doing, why you're trying to recruit maybe their volunteers, things of that nature, really helps them to understand, okay, why are you here and why do you want our help? It's also really good to have a message that you spread to every partner so that it's a uniform, single message, and so that you're not also forgetting some of the details. It's also really helpful too, because if they ask you certain questions or you're kind of fumbling over talking to them, it sometimes helps with knowing, okay, I know exactly where I am, let me continue. I also recommend figuring out how to sell the program so that you get buy-in from the partners. And so making sure that there's a mutual beneficial piece to it is always a good piece of advice, just because people also want to know, okay, how is it going to benefit us? We're not VITA, we don't lead this program, so how is it going to benefit, say, our students or the community? And then keeping it light and fun, especially with the partners and with the volunteers. You know, volunteering should be fun. I always encourage volunteers to bring a friend, and having some level of joking around, keeping it light, always helps to lighten the mood, especially when you're talking about something that's kind of heavy like taxes. I also highly recommend bringing in your personality, not only with partners but also with the volunteers. It really helps them to feel that they can trust you. They frequently buy in, so to speak, to the program a little bit better when you show them your true self. I personally like to joke around with the volunteers just a little bit and make them feel comfortable. It might be at my expense from time to time, but I think they feel more comfortable and more committed to the program just because of that. So then building the partnership. Once you've approached the partners and you know who you're going to recruit, I have a coalition, and so I like to check in with those partners or those coalition members frequently just to see not only how they are and things that might be going on that might be relevant to our program, but also on a personal level just to show them that I genuinely care, and to also you know, just kind of feel out the different vibes that are in the community. So I'd like to build personal relationships with them while still keeping it professional. And I feel that the partners are just as important as the volunteers, because we really need the volunteers to help with the tax preparation part, but we need the partners to help with recruiting those volunteers, perhaps providing the space or the equipment for the tax preparation and other things like that. And then I strongly believe in always offering to my partners a piece of what can I do for you, asking them if I can help them in some way or another, or if the program could, or if I could assist in their organization or agency needs. It just helps to show that I genuinely care, but also that this is a mutually beneficial relationship, and so if there is something that I can do to assist, not trying to add more to my workload necessarily, but I would be more than happy to help. So it's an investment realistically. And this also helps with retention for volunteers and for the coalition members. They continually come back just mainly because I'm able to assist them in other ways as well. Then I have found that there are a lot of webinars and other areas that have individuals or representatives who are from more urban, larger areas. They perhaps have a much larger coalition. As I said, we're just starting out. But I feel that for any place where you live or where your coalition might be, there are always different aspects of the community that need to be taken into consideration. For instance, I'm in a very rural area, so some of the techniques that work in urban areas don't always come over and work in a rural area either. It's not as transferable. So I like to take some of those ideas and those pieces from the larger coalitions and then apply them and adapt them to how they could work in my area, which is something that has really helped with making some of my attempts and my different aspects of my role a little bit easier. As far as volunteer retention, I don't think that you can say thank you enough to some of these volunteers and these individuals. The whole reason that we're successful and have X amount of returns done every year is because of these volunteers. And by investing in the volunteers, you're investing in the program, the community, and even yourself. And so I think one of the things to always remember too is that not every volunteer wants to be thanked by a card or through an email. They might like to be thanked, you know, in person, or maybe it's even not so much a thank you as it is just a small gesture. So I encourage you to find out how your volunteers like to be thanked and then implement it and specifically approach the thanking part based upon the individual. Another thing to remember, volunteers are not paid, and they give up their time. They spend time away from their families, and they deal with a lot of the problems that we end up dealing with too. And so remembering that even though there are times when I kind of think, oh, I don't get paid enough to deal with some of this, it's even more so true with the volunteers. So making sure that they're taken care of is always important. Volunteers are not selfish with their time or their hard work. Like I said, they're taking away time from their lives, and it's always nice when you can give a little of yours back to them. And volunteers are really the reason for the VITA success in our areas. Some food for thought. I just really feel strongly about working with a lot of my volunteers because I get to know them over the course of the tax season, and we get rather close, you know, and sometimes I have what I call the post-tax season blues because I go from 10 weeks of working with these individuals to not seeing them for a number of months, and you know, you get rather close with some of those volunteers and you find out just how amazing and just how wonderful these people are. So I think it really takes a special kind of volunteer to be a VITA volunteer. So like I said, if you have any questions or concerns, anything that I can do for you, please let me know. Please don't hesitate to contact me. And thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lauren. Next, we will have Sharon Baldwin, who will be talking about volunteer relations.
Thank you, Janny, and thank you, Lauren. I'm super excited to call you about some emotional outbursts that I might have this tax season. So again, my name is Sharon. I just want to thank Janny for having me on this call and everyone else for participating. So as she said, I'm the volunteer coordinator for the Baltimore CASH campaign. So since 2001, we've been working to promote economic security in and around Baltimore City and Maryland. We have around 200 volunteers, and we prepare taxes for between 9,000 and 10,000 households every year. And we also run on a coalition model, so we have between 15 and 20 sites and partner sites. We run about 5 of them with our own staff and volunteers, and then we support the other 10 to 20 with technical assistance, volunteer support, so recruiting volunteers together as a team, and then some of the infrastructure. Just to give you some of that, and I'm sorry, all right, there we go. So our volunteer program, as Jenny said, I did AmeriCorps with Volunteer Maryland. So if you participated with Patrice Teeter-Moran last week, she trained me. So I like to think that we sort of built our volunteer program on a foundation with a real focus on recruiting and retaining volunteers, creating volunteer pipelines. So thinking about the way that Lauren was talking about, finding those places where volunteers are, especially big groups. So working with our corporate partners, working with universities, all of those things, and connecting to those places with messaging and really individual volunteer motivation, right? So there are different ways that we're motivated, but sometimes if you're a student, versus someone who's a professional in some way in giving back to the community, just talking about that might be a little different. We also spend a lot of time focusing on creating good volunteer experiences and also a culture of appreciation. Just as Lauren was saying, saying thank you is one of the most important ways that we can do that, and there are a million ways to say thank you. And I know all of you and all of us are very creative in the ways that we might be doing that. And so, along with building a strong foundation, so to me that means both, things like clear position descriptions, some of the things Patrice was talking about last week, and then also using any opportunity to provide that throughout the entire experience of a volunteer. So where I think about that is I start, I am lucky that I am able to get a little bit of runtime during our tax site coordinator training. So mostly VITA site coordinators come to our training, get all the tax training and all the site management training, and then also I'm able to spend some time talking about volunteer basic needs. So this slide I just stole right from our other training, and that kind of, to me, is the really important things for people that are managing volunteers to know. So, clear instructions, lots of feedback early and often. Volunteers want to know what they've been doing wrong. I think that's a way of creating that trust and also, supporting the work that we do, which is to provide high quality free tax returns for people, breaks in varied shifts, and then also, again, thank you and connection to that mission. So sharing data, letting people know what they've done the last week. So we ask our sites to start the morning with a tax huddle where they get together, pass out those site and quality updates the IRS might have sent out, and then also say, hey, last week we did, 20 returns, 50 returns. We opened 2 savings accounts. What can we do today? How can we help people today? It's a way to keep that excitement up, keep people connected to clients, to each other, to staff, and all of that is super important to retaining that. I think the other part of setting that stage is letting people know what to expect, right? It's kind of scary to go out there and prepare taxes for people, do this new thing, or even returning. And so I like to think about, ask other people and think about the ways that I might feel nervous starting this new thing. And so some of the things that we do are through Google, you can create free sites, and there are a million other ways to do this. And so the one up on the screen is for our Pratt Library location. And I just like to, I will drive to the site, I will look around, I will walk in and, walk to the actual site location so I can say, when you walk in, as it says on the screen, go to the Maryland room on the 2nd floor. Here's where, we can't provide parking, but here's where you can find parking. Here's how you can get there by public transport. Here's who's going to be there to welcome you when you're there. I think all of that is really important and something that is really a value of mine that I, also ask other people and site managers to help set the stage for, and then volunteers get involved as well. And so, you know, I think the other thing that obviously Lauren talked a lot about is that, you know, messaging and marketing and how do we sell people on these amazing volunteer opportunities that we know are so rewarding and help people so much. So I, a few years ago, just pulled together, you know, our survey, our evaluation from the end of the year, also very important, to find out, you know, what kind of experiences people are having. I actually love getting critical feedback. I mean, I love to hear that I'm doing an amazing job and all my site managers are doing an amazing job working with people, but my favorite kind of feedback is actually critical feedback. And so when someone gives me something that seems negative, I get so excited I tell the entire staff. But so here's just a little sort of like, I think Lauren had something really similar. So, you know, my favorite piece of feedback ever was every tax return is like an adventure, which was from one of our interns. And I thought it was such a beautiful way of thinking about tax preparation in a positive way that's also very kind of fun and true, right? Like you can really go through someone's whole financial life, personal life, trying to get that accurate return. And so, you know, as a tax volunteer with CASH, you'll become an IRS certified tax preparer through the VITA program, do good in Baltimore, and make a measurable difference in the lives of low-income households. And then there's just a few others, like can relate it to my schoolwork. It's an excellent program, and all of that. So I just think it can be helpful to just see what, you know, people are telling you about their volunteer experience, whether it's through a survey or just talking to people, or your own experiences, I think are, of course, also very important. And then obviously another important part that we all know about, that's part of that thank you, is volunteer recognition. And I think that that's continuous, right? So it's both saying thank you, giving people candy or candy of praises, and also saying, hey, you know, you've been doing a really great job here, and also this is a mistake that you've made, and here's how we can work together to fix that. And then, so, you know, a few things we do. We have an end-of-year party. There's some pictures from our photo booth, which people really enjoyed. We also highlight volunteer couples in February. So I just kind of hound people who are couples that volunteer together, whether they're, you know, married couples or you know, friends or things like that, and I try to get them to agree to be in our volunteer spotlight for February. I also send out volunteer Valentines. Everyone that volunteers the Saturday closest to Valentine's Day gets like a handwritten Valentine, and people are very into it. So the site managers got upset because the first year I didn't make them one, so now I know that I have to give everybody a Valentine. And it's just a really fun and rewarding way to do something a little silly, but that you know, really makes people feel good about what they're doing. And then the other thing, you know, that I think can be a really nice way to connect with volunteers and offer opportunities for excitement, a little competition, is to connect the volunteer experience in some way to other program goals. So whether that's, you know, setting goals against another site in the coalition of how many returns you want to do that Saturday, or you know, some sites do like savings bond, where they have a thing on the wall that everyone's participating in getting to a savings bond goal. One thing that we tried that was new for last year that actually was very, people were so into it, which I loved, was this refund reward. So it's on the bottom. You can kind of see, I think it's fairly large. Basically, every time a client saved at least $50 of their refund, which matches up with the Doorways to Dream, I think now called Commonwealth's national savings competition, where they pull a $100 winner every week and promote it through VITA programs. I'm not sure how many people participate, but it's really a really wonderful thing to participate in. And so whenever people enter that, the volunteer who helped them purchase a savings bond, and we're loose on that, right? Like, we're not going to say no to the quality reviewer and the volunteer. They get a stamp, and when they get 8 stamps, they can enter at the volunteer party for a prize, and people really loved it. And for me, it was such a win because it kept people interested. we were able to thank them, and they could sort of, track that progress, which is so important, and knowing, what we know about how important savings are, how, having just a little bit of money saved for college makes a huge difference in going to college and finishing college. I think it's such a win when we can combine those things. So I love thinking of creative ways and hearing about other things that programs are doing to connect those. The other thing that, let's see, that we've done, I'm having a little trouble advancing. Oh, there it is. Okay. So this year I made a video that I would love to share with you. It's just a minute long, and it's just, I think, I can speak for itself, but just trying new things. So making a recruitment video. This cost, I think, maybe 2 hours of staff time. So just a colleague of mine who has learned a little bit about making videos, one take, and finding some beautiful light that the beautiful city of Baltimore provided us. And so I'm just going to play it so that people can see it, and I will maybe mute myself and see how this works. Okay, I think the sound isn't working, so I apologize. You're just going to have to look at me awkwardly, but I can send that out after if anyone's interested. It's on the volunteer tab of our website. Our website is not beautiful, but you are all, of course, welcome to enjoy that. So, it's basically just a little clip of, why taxes, why they're important, and how people can get involved, and which is new for us. So making videos, things like that are just short and different ways of engaging with people. And so overall, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's participating, and then also to Center on Budget and Jani and Lauren and Keely. I'm really excited to be a part of this. Always, of course, would love to talk to any and all of you about volunteering, or if you guys have amazing ideas, which I'm sure you do, feel free to reach out. I would love to talk, so thank you again.
Thank you so much. And I loved the volunteer couples picture. That was super cute. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And sorry about the audio problem. We'll fix that eventually. So next we will have Keely Andrews finishing it off with her piece on mostly focusing on volunteer retention.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for having me. And I just want to echo what everyone else has said so far. Really, if you ever want to reach out to any of us, we sincerely mean it. We love hearing from people, and we love the follow-up questions. So I have my email on this page. Please follow up if you have any questions or feedback or comments. But I'll start with a little bit of background on our program. We're in the Cleveland, Ohio area. We have about 25 tax sites. We did 15,000 tax returns last year. We do that with about 400 volunteers, and our retention rate for our volunteers has been traditionally hovering around 40–45%. All right, so first slide, got it. So we break down our volunteer recruitment into 4 main buckets, and this is so we can target our message to each individual group and keep track with different goals around each partner. So our college partner, we usually expect to get about 100 volunteers from this group. We have a lot of colleges in the Cleveland area, so we're lucky. We have 6 college partners that we're recruiting from, and 2 of them are actually hosting tax sites that are run by the students. So we offer internship credits, and we recruit from as many departments as possible. So we're not just looking at accounting majors or accounting fraternities and groups, but we're looking at the law schools, the business school as a whole, and any social service type majors. And we've been very lucky around that, in that we are getting volunteers from so many different groups, and then we for the ones that aren't accounting or law students, we're going on campus and we're presenting the training to groups at the college campus and training them right on site. And our training encompasses the certification as well. So once they're trained, they can dive right into volunteering. And we usually try to create events so that college students can go together. So we're recruiting them to come in groups. Otherwise, some of them won't show up. Our second group is bank partners. This is really obvious. Bank partners have CRA credits that they have to get. So understanding what your bank CRA needs are is also very helpful. And you can poke around on the website if you just go to the Federal Reserve and look at CRA, you can find out a little bit more about it there. But don't be afraid to ask your bank partners what their CRA needs are. Maybe they have a certain target zip code they're working in, or they're looking to serve rural communities or urban communities. But if you can work together, you both can benefit from the relationship. So we have about 10 bank partners that fund us and about 5 that provide a good number of volunteers to us. And we do most of their volunteering is done through Super Refund Saturdays, but we also push them to volunteer again after the event takes place. And then we've also expanded it so that we don't just say, hey, do you want to do a Super Refund Saturday, but would you like to support a tax site for every Saturday throughout the tax season? So if we can recruit 50 volunteers, we can staff a tax site for a full tax season. And then the not as obvious partner bucket is businesses. We've found that businesses also have a model just like the banks to give back to the community. So finding out which businesses in the area have that in their employee models. And then we've also started reaching out to our volunteers asking, hey, where do you work, and can we come speak to your employer? And we've had a lot of luck around that. We've already scheduled 20 meetings leading up to this tax season with different business partners, so that's working very well for us. The community and neighborhood partners, we have a lot of community development groups within Cleveland, so this is a huge bucket for us as well. And this is one of our most successful groups because we're finding people who live in the communities that they're serving. They're very dedicated to the communities. They don't only do the tax returns, but they help with the outreach materials to the community, and they help build that trust and the relationships to keep people coming back every year to the tax sites. And then I put this last bullet point on here so I wouldn't forget. Last year was our first year we splurged and we bought NPR radio ads. College radio ads are free typically for nonprofits, so we have the college radio ads. The NPR ads are a little more expensive and they also reach a broad audience. So this was really successful for us. We got some of our most dedicated volunteers from the NPR ads, and it was our first year running them. So we're going to do it again this year, and we're very happy with the results. Sorry, excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold. So we really decided last year that we were going to shift our marketing efforts away from clients and to volunteers because we had enough clients coming to us, and at some point you reach capacity as to how many clients you can serve. So we needed more volunteers so that we could serve more clients and open more tax sites. So our 2014 tax filing season, we had a program director, program associate, IT support person who was part-time year-round, and a volunteer coordinator who was part-time seasonal. And the volunteer coordinator wouldn't carry over from year to year because it was a seasonal position. We never had the same person in the position from year to year, which was a huge challenge for us because our volunteers who were returning didn't know who was contacting them. It was really hard to build a relationship in that short amount of time. So our main goal for a volunteer coordinator became checking in with the tax sites, making sure they had enough volunteers, and if they didn't, starting to go down the line and call volunteers and ask them to come. The model wasn't really working for us. So last tax season, we decided we were going to add a part-time, year-round volunteer relationship manager. And the year-round portion of it was really originally planned so that we could have the same person every year and have that continuity for our volunteers and for ourselves. But we found that for a part-time position, there's enough that can be done throughout the year. So she is keeping busy, and she is doing a great job just planning and getting ready for the coming tax season. So we're really happy that we added that position. And for the coming tax season, we're actually going to get rid of the volunteer coordinator position altogether. So I'm going to dive into our retention practices now, and it's broken out before tax season, during, and after. So before tax season even starts, we have a plan in place, and we're already starting to implement and get ready to get the volunteers to stay and make it through the training process and make it to the tax sites. So we use a software called Volunteer Hub, and this is where our volunteers sign up, and this is where they sign up for their trainings. We keep all of their training documentation so that the tax sites can easily access it. They know who's coming to the tax site. So when people sign up in Volunteer Hub, the software automatically sends them an email saying, thanks for registering as a volunteer, and this is what you should expect next, et cetera, et cetera. But we found that if our relationship manager immediately sends another contact, and it says it immediately as she's checking it, so maybe it's a few days later, but she welcomes them, she lets them know what to expect, lets them know that she's there if there's any questions, and this makes a huge difference from people signing up for trainings to actually showing up to trainings, because now they're accountable to a human being. It's not just an auto email telling you that you're signed up for a training. Somebody knows you're signed up for a training. So that's helped with our show up rate to the trainings quite a bit. And then our relationship manager, whose name is Gina, I'll stop calling her by her title for the entire presentation, but Gina's at every training, and she is there to greet them when they show up. She's a friendly face, and then we have a volunteer who's leading the training sessions most of the time. So when he lets people go on break or during lunchtime when people are sitting around chatting, because our trainings are a full Saturday, Gina encourages them to sign up. Hey, you're going to be certified by the end of this training. Maybe you want to get first dibs at what tax site you want to go to, what fits in your schedule, what's nearby your work or your house. So she gets them to sign up before they've even left. Everybody signed up for to volunteer at a tax site. And then if they sign up for only one event, she's also pushing them to make a weekly commitment or to make a bi-weekly commitment, and getting them to have some consistency, and that's really great for the site coordinators. It makes a better experience for everyone, because we know that you're going to be there every Tuesday, and we know that you work at this pace, or you might be good at these type of tax returns. So having that consistency is helpful, because in the past a lot of our volunteers would float around to different tax sites, and this helps create some consistency, which also helps retain the site coordinators, which is very important as well. And then after the training takes place, Gina does an email check-in. Even though we do a survey before they even leave the training, we're following up with them saying, hey, you've had time to digest it. What do you think? We also offer online training, so we have training video modules that are available if people don't want to do an in-person training. So she's checking in with those folks as well. And the constant check-in just helps build the relationship and let them know that we care about the experience they're having. And it also gives us an opportunity to shift directions if we need to make sure that they're having a good experience. Before the tax season every year, sorry, we do a kickoff event or some type of orientation. and it's usually combined. So this event gives people a chance to get to know other volunteers, get to know a site coordinator, and it also takes place at a tax site, which is really helpful. So people now have at least seen one tax site, so they can go back to that one if that's where they're comfortable, if they're not comfortable going to another tax site. And it's great for our site coordinators. All of our site coordinators come and they get to try to recruit volunteers to come to their tax site. And it's great because then the volunteers know who to look for when they get to the tax site, and they know that they already like that site coordinator and that they're going to have a good experience. For marketing, I talked about this a little bit, and I will skip that since we're running short on time. During the tax season, we continue with the regular check-ins. So once we see that somebody's made it to their first event, we try to send that check-in email. How'd it go? What feedback did you have? Did you enjoy it? Did the training prepare you for that first day? And getting any feedback we need, or being able to encourage the volunteers too if they need it. In addition to email check-ins, Gina also shows up at the tax site regularly, as well as the rest of the program staff, with snacks or just to say hi. And this is great. It really helps build the relationship, and it also feeds volunteers, and volunteers love food. We do keep our tax sites stocked with food as well. We buy gift cards for every site coordinator, so they get a grocery store gift card so that they can stock the tax site with any food that their volunteers specifically like. We also send out thank you emails after events. There's an auto email that comes from Volunteer Hub, but we try to send emails with updates and thank you letters as often as possible. If we feel like a volunteer is going above and beyond, we'll send a handwritten letter during the tax season to let them know and say thank you. Last tax season, we sent over 100 handwritten letters between Gina and myself to our volunteers, just saying thank you repeatedly, because we have amazing volunteers. Sharing the up-to-date impact is also important, as some of the other presenters said, letting them know that we're on track to hit our goal, and it's thanks to their involvement and their commitment, letting them know how many hours they've already donated. If a volunteer is willing to or wants to be publicly thanked, this is also a great time to do it. Something we've done at our tax sites that has been really successful for our college students is we make the interaction with the clients optional. So we have assembly line tax sites where our volunteers can choose whether or not they ever want to see the taxpayer. So the taxpayer goes through an intake process and an interview with the greeter, then the stuff is passed on to the tax preparer, and then the tax preparer completes the tax return and passes it on to a quality reviewer, and the quality reviewer is the one who wraps it up with the client. And so when we have our students or our young folks who are uncomfortable with asking questions in front of clients, or clients questioning them along the way, this is a great option for them. But when you have the volunteers who are volunteering just for the social interaction aspect of it, this doesn't make sense. So we have the assembly line model available at just a couple of our tax sites. We found that having site coordinators build relationships with the volunteers, having volunteers build relationships with each other, staff building relationships with volunteers and site coordinators, this is all really important to having smooth operation, and having volunteers, you know, show up when they say they're going to, and come back consistently. Something else we did last tax season for the first time that proved to be very successful was we expanded our Super Saturday partnerships. So in the past, our sponsorship for a Super Saturday may have solely rested upon a bank. So we had a bank partner and a and a group of volunteers that were coming, but we expanded that. So every Super Saturday that's sponsored by a bank also has a college sponsor, and that college sponsor provides 20 or so volunteers, and the bank provides 20 or so volunteers. So we've created capacity, and then we've also put the students in a networking opportunity, and the students have an opportunity to show a leadership role, which has been just amazing to watch. We've had plenty of our students leave with bank business cards and offers for internships or jobs when they finish college. So it's been really successful, and our students and bank partners really enjoy it. After the tax season, we continue to send thank you letters. Never stop sending those thank you letters, basically. We also share the results in a big end-of-season celebration. The celebration also has an award ceremony aspect, which a lot of you do, but we've really expanded it. So we do the typical greeter of the year, translator of the year, things like that, but we also give an award to anyone who's done over 100 tax returns, anyone who's done over 200 tax returns, and then every year we have one volunteer who does over 700 tax returns. So it's become a big event. He's the last award every year, and it's a big event to find out how many returns did Bob do this tax season. So the awards are a lot of fun, and we've made it take up quite a bit of the celebration. Our main mission for the off-season is to keep people engaged, whether that's asking them to get involved in advocacy that we're working on, or keeping them posted on changes that are coming for the next tax season. We also send them quality review updates. So, hey, this is a common error we saw last year at tax sites. This is what you can do about it. So some reading material. We have year-round tax sites, which isn't so popular. So we have 3 tax sites that will be open through the rest of the year here. So we need a few volunteers to help at those, so we ask people to come so that they don't get rusty at least once during the off season. And then we also try to schedule some summer and fall gatherings. So we have picnics and dinners and things like that. Potlucks are really popular at a tax site level. And then we also do the social media thing, so keep posting on that during the off season so that your volunteers remember that you exist. And we also invite some of our volunteers to serve on boards and committees. We have a volunteer committee as needed, so every once in a while we'll call a group of volunteers together to think about things like tax site structure, hours, volunteer recognition events. We let them help plan it, and those are nice because you can do them in the evening when volunteers are available, but we also invite them to participate on steering committees and advisory boards, but those are a little harder. You have to get the retirees or the students because they do take place during the workday, but it's great to have those extra voices on those boards. So if you can invite a couple people, that's always nice. And it does make them feel good. It makes them feel like they have a little more stake in what's going on. Keeps them coming back every year. And I touched on that last point, so that is where I will end.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Keely. That was great. So now we are almost out of time, so if you can stay for questions, that would be awesome. We did receive a lot of questions already, so we won't get to all of them, unfortunately. But if you have a question that we're not going to get to today, you can always shoot me an email afterwards, or email any of the presenters directly and see if you can get your question answered. Okay, so for Sharon, we had the question. You mentioned that the free Google page site. How would you create a free site like that?
Cool. So if you have a Gmail account, so we use Gmail for work, which probably helps. But if you you probably just Google it, right? Like, there's like a little section where you pull down like your calendar and things like that. There's just a site, and you can basically create them. I doubt they're super secure, but for just using them, like I would feel comfortable doing them with my personal Gmail as well as my work Gmail. But obviously it depends on your program and if there are more thoughts on that. But yeah, if you pull down sort of that menu, you can find Google sites and create them.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So we did have a question about the training. So obviously volunteers only have so much time. So how can we effectively train volunteers that respects their time? This person feels like they have to cram hours of information into just 30 to 60 minutes. Does anyone
I can tackle that one. This is. Oh, go ahead, Sharon.
Okay, well, I'll try. I'll be quick. I think that my thought is that if people know what to expect, you're respecting their time. So being honest about the amount of training. And one thing that we did, especially a few years ago when they changed the certification levels to include more in basic and the ACA and all that, we made an online training that's like 2 hours in addition to this for new volunteers for a 3-hour in-person training and then an 8-hour in-person training. And we're just really upfront about it.
Okay. Keely, did you also have something to add?
Sure, I'll add something quick. And this is similar, but we offer a few different options. So you can do, we have short online modules that go through the same material broken up. So you can squeeze it in as you're able. And then we also offer in-person training sessions, and we have a one and done full Saturday. And then we also offer short broken out sessions, so 3-hour sessions 3 times otherwise.
Okay, cool. So another partner asked, how do you appeal to older retired demographics without scaring them with the technology involved?
This is Lauren. I think one of the aspects that sold some of the retirees that I work with is the flexibility of the schedule and really hammering in their effect on the community and in people's lives, and how their volunteer efforts really make a difference. And once we can get them to the site and get them involved, we don't even have to pull their arm, so to speak, even more.
This is Sharon, and I don't know that we have I don't have a great answer for that, but I will say that I went to a training recently that was sort of talking about volunteers who are older or retired. And one of the things, and I think about myself, like I'm 30, and I can't tell you the number of people who are my age and have grandparents on Facebook. I think the other thing that's true is, for some, it's sort of older people are using technology, and so there are definitely folks at all ages that's not going to work out for them. So I might try and put someone in a different kind of role. Would they be better suited to be a greeter or an intake person, and less on the technology side? But also don't rule them out just because they might be retired or older.
Thank you. I did want to respond. So we've gotten a bunch of questions on training, and I do want to focus on volunteer recruitment and retention today. But is that, this is for everyone attending, is that a topic that you want to learn more about and you would want to hear from partners? Because we're always open to doing different trainings based on what you're interested in. So if you want to learn more about volunteer trainings, maybe shoot me an email and let me know if that's something you're interested in. I guess, let's see, we only have a minute left, so I'll just do one more question. And we'll probably end it after that. So how do you assess a volunteer's ability without discouraging them?
I guess I'll go since there's no other answer. This is Keely. We let everybody start with whatever role they like, and we coach them as much as possible. Some people take an entire tax season of coaching to get through, but we offer the training to our site coordinators. So our site coordinators should be leading volunteers and helping them get where they want to be. But if something's just not working, we put it on the site coordinators. So we would love to see the site coordinators offer them other roles. So maybe you'd be better suited as a greeter, or maybe you want to work with a partner, whatever they have to do to keep that volunteer engaged and happy and make sure that their time is being well spent.
This is Sharon. I think that's a great answer, and I will say that Lauren's story at the beginning is maybe, I'm just thinking about how that, how she, her own story about, the sort of the test the second year, and that Keely saying how important it is to keep people engaged. I think we all probably have stories about someone who started and was not, maybe not exactly getting it, and then the next year coming back and having that, familiarity with the material and it changing a little bit.
To add on to that, I also think that there's a lot of volunteers who start out maybe struggling more. But in my experience, if you give them a little bit of your time and you really try to help them and coach them through it, those have turned out being some of my strongest volunteers in the end. And they are ones that I can really rely on and count on, and who have the information pretty well down at that point. And I think it's maybe some motivation for them to do the same thing where they want to own the information at that point.
Thank you. Those are all good tips. And I did hear from a partner recently. He has a VITA site out in Ohio, and what he does is he tries to partner new volunteers with older volunteers in a sort of mentorship relationship, and then the new volunteer will watch the older volunteer do tax returns for about a week before they start doing tax returns. So there are definitely ways to use your other volunteers to help training go smoother and to answer those kinds of questions for people who might be nervous about filing taxes for people or any of the technology. So that's about all the time we have today. So thank you all so much for joining us. And thank you, Keely, Lauren, and Sharon, for being amazing presenters. We really appreciate you taking the time to do so. And before we leave, I just wanted to say we hope you will stay in touch. Please feel free to shoot me an email with any questions or suggestions, or any of our panelists. Again, we love hearing from you, and if there's any other training that you'd be interested in seeing, please let me know. All right, well, thank you again for joining us, and have a great day.